What's up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be taking an up-close look at the SAR100 set from VIM. This is their slim angle ratcheting wrenches. It's a 10-piece set. These things are ultra light and super strong. You guys, check this one out. Alright guys, like I mentioned in the intro, today we're going to be taking a look at the SAR100 set from VIM. It is a 10-piece set of ratcheting wrenches. As you guys see, it comes in the EVA foam tray, and it's a super high density EVA foam. You can see I'm holding it by the corner. It's not flopping around. This is definitely not a cheap piece of foam. It looks good. It doesn't take up a ton of space in your box because they did a fantastic job of offsetting the wrenches in here, as you guys see, to make it super compact. It is a full 10-piece set, goes from a 10 all the way to a 19 with no skip sizes. As you guys can see, it features an exoskeleton design that not only reduces the weight, but increases the grip that you have on them and makes them super comfortable. Not to mention, they look pretty freaking awesome as well. As you see, it does have a 15-degree offset on it. It is an ultra low profile 12-point box end that is ratcheting, and it has 72 teeth. So these are extremely nice wrenches. Like I say, they did not skip any sizes. You can see it has the 10 millimeter all the way to a 19. The way they've offset staggered these in here is a super space saving design. So I know some of you guys are going to think that we copied the SK design, and while that function and form is there, we've actually improved that design dramatically. So I have them here side by side. We'll also do a weight comparison between the two and also the length comparison. That way it gives you an idea of the differences in the two wrenches. So if you look at them side by side, both of them have an exoskeleton design, but just wait till you see the differences in weight. Okay guys, so we've got a digital scale and we're going to weigh the different wrenches here. We're going to start with the VIM SAR 10 millimeter. You can see our scale is set to 0. Put that on here. 54.9 grams. We're going to take the SK X frame, 10 millimeter. You can see we're at 0. 58.9 grams. I'm going to take the VIM SAR 19 millimeter. 235.5 grams. And we're going to take our SK X frame 19 millimeter. See, we're set to 0. 308.3 grams. Obviously the length is pretty close, and you guys can see here as we measure both the SK and the VIM wrenches in both 10 millimeter and 19. So that covers from the smallest size all the way to the largest, and that way you can take a look at those comparisons. Okay, so now we're going to do the length comparison between the SK and the VIM SARs. We'll start with the 19 millimeter VIM, and that way we can get a length on that. We're going to go from the longest point of the wrench to here. You can see we're about 11 1/16. So here is the SK 19 millimeter. I'm going to go from the longest point of the wrench. So here you can see we're about 11 1/16. So that's the two 19s. Here's the VIM 10 millimeter. We'll do the exact same thing. We're going to go from the longest point of the wrench. And you can see we're about 6 9/16. Here's the SK 10 millimeter X frame. Go from the longest point of the wrench You can see this one is about 6 5/8. So this one's 1/16 longer. So now that you know there's a huge weight advantage and a length are almost identical between the two, I want to talk about the width of the two wrenches. As you can probably see here on camera, we'll get a close-up and put a micrometer on it, and that way you can see the true differences of them. There's a huge difference in the width of the two ratcheting wrenches. There's a lot of difference in the head profile on the ratcheting end, and we'll put a close-up of that and also show that on a micrometer as well. That way you guys can see the difference between the two. Okay guys, so now we're going to measure. We've got our micrometer here set to 0. We're going to take the SK and we're going to measure the open end on that. You can set 9.56. We'll take the VIM 19 millimeter, 8.65. Now we'll do the box end of the SK 19 millimeter. You can see that is 12.08. Now we'll do the VIM 19 millimeter box end. You can see that is 11.00 millimeters. Okay, so you can see we got our caliper set to 0. We're going to start with the SK open end. We're going to measure that. You guys can see it's 5.15 millimeters. We're going to take the VIM open end. .61 millimeters. Now we're going to take the SK ratcheting box end. You can see we're 8.13 millimeters. Now we're going to take the VIM ratcheting box stand. You can see we're 7.01 millimeters. So there's the size differences between the SK and the VIM side by side. I'm hoping this is going to show up on camera because there's quite a bit of difference when you look down how thick each one actually is, especially on the box end. So here's the 10 millimeter side by side. The SK will be on the bottom, the VIM will be on the top. So there you have it. There's the size comparisons between both brands. All right, guys, so now we've talked about kind of some of the differences between the two. Obviously, the SK is a 6-point, so you're going to be limited strictly to 6-point bolts, where the VIM is a 12-point option. A lot of you guys have asked for 12-point for tighter access areas. So here it is in this versus the spline drive that a lot of other companies offer. The next thing I want to do, we want to take it over here to our test bench and we want to see how strong these are. That way you guys will know exactly what these wrenches will do. So in this test, we're going to be taking the smallest wrench, which is our 10 millimeter, and our largest wrench, which is our 19. We're going to be putting it on our torque meter and we're going to see what the failure points are with these two sizes. And that way you guys will get a good look at just how strong these ratcheting wrenches are. So without any further ado, let's go over here to our test bench and let's put these things to the test and see how they stack up. You guys, come on. Okay guys, so we're over here at our test bench, and before we get started, I know you guys have used 10 millimeter and 19 millimeter. Those are super common sizes, but I kind of want to go over some numbers real quick and show you kind of what the bolt manufacturer's description for tightening and the recommended tensile strength of the bolts are. That way we have a kind of an understanding of what the tools are designed to do and be used in. I just don't want to set any unrealistic expectations on what these tools are supposed to do versus what they're designed to do with what they're designed to work on. Okay guys, so before we get started, I kind of want to run over some torque specs with you. I'll put some charts up here because it's a lot of numbers to kind of go over, but I just want everybody to kind of understand the expectations of the bolts and the tools that are used with these bolts. So we'll start with the 10 millimeter. As you guys can see, it is a 10 millimeter head. It fits in here absolutely perfect. This is a shouldered bolt, so I'll do it on this end, that way you can see. But if you look at the end of the bolt, you'll see it has 8.8 on it. That is the classification of the bolt. So the first chart I'll put up here is a chart that shows the head diameter, what classifies the bolt size. So as you can see, it's a 10 millimeter head. That makes it an M6 bolt. So when we look at the shank of the bolt, that's a 6 millimeter. That's how it's classified. Obviously here, you can see it's an 8.8, and that's the strength classification of the bolt. So when we look at our strength chart, you can see for a coarse thread bolt, depending on the property class, it goes from a 3.3 foot-pounds up to a 13 foot-pounds. When we look at the next chart, that shows the tightening torque rating that this bolt is designed to hold up for, and that goes from a 3.1 foot-pounds up to 12.1 foot-pounds. The whole purpose of this, a lot of people don't realize how much these bolts are actually designed to hold, and that's why I kind of wanted to run over this with you guys. So here, you can see we have a 19 millimeter head. We'll get our 19 millimeter wrench. And you can see it fits perfectly in here. No gaps, no issues. You'll look on the back of the bolt, it also is an 8.8. So that is the strength of the bolt. So when we look at our first chart, it shows a 19 millimeter bolt head is an M12 bolt. And you can see this is a coarse thread bolt. So when we look at our strength chart, you can see the M12 goes from a 28 foot-pounds up to 110 foot-pounds, depending on the property class, whether it be a 5.6, or in this case, an 8.8, 10.9, or 12.9. Now on the fine thread, it goes from 70 foot-pounds up to 118 foot-pounds, according to the property class of bolt. And you see this one is an 8.8, but it's coarse thread, not fine. So when we look at our tightening torque sheet, you can see the M12 bolt goes from 26 to 103 foot-pounds for coarse thread bolts, or 64 to 110 for fine threads. So if you look at the maximum of each one of these bolts, this one would be the maximum, if it was a fine thread, 110 foot-pounds. This one would be 12.1. So there's a little lesson in what you guys should expect out of your tools if you're working with these type bolts. All right, so you guys kind of got a little lesson on bolt strength and all of that good stuff, and hopefully that kind of clears the air on how much strength a 10 millimeter bolt, which is a M6, or a 19 millimeter bolt head, which is the M12, is designed to take in normal everyday use situations. So to start this test, so we can test just how strong our wrenches are, we've got our meter set up here. You guys can see it's at zeros. That means it's calibrated. It will display 1623. That is the maximum torque that this meter can take. So to use this test today, we're going to be using a wrench extender, because as you guys see, we're going to be putting some pretty good torque numbers up, especially when we get into the 3/4. So we've got our WE26A wrench extender head on our TH21 telescopic wrench handle. So we're going to be using this to kind of control the torque to make sure that we have a nice even torque curve across the board. To limit the damage in this test, since I don't want it flying everywhere, we will be zip tying the wrench onto the ratchet handle. We'll be putting it on our torque meter and applying torque, and you'll be able to read it out here on the screen, and it should hold at the maximum peak torque. So let me get this zip tied on here just so we don't have any stuff flying around anywhere. All right, so we're going to clear a meter out one more time. You can see we've got the wrench extender zip tied in here. We're going to put it on here and we're going to start applying force to see what we get to before failure. So you can see there we're pretty much doubled what the bolt manufacturer recommends on an M6 bolt, which is a 10 millimeter. We got the 76. I'm going to clear it out since the wrench extender kind of bent on me. We're going to try to take it to failure. Got it to 43. That time I'm going to clear the meter. We're going to try to get this thing up here and see how strong this actually is. Maybe I can grip it right in here. And we're going to try to get going on it. All right, we got the 34. I'm going to try put a pipe on it and just see how much we can go, because I know you guys want to see this thing break, and I kind of do too. I'm going to break the handle off of it before it gives away. As you guys can see, the head design is pretty strong on this thing. There we go. 116 foot-pounds before it gave way. And you seen the torque specs on my M6 was around 13 foot-pounds. So you can definitely see that the 10 millimeter wrench, and it's locked up. I mean, it slipped out. It's probably stripped the gears. But it got to 116 foot-pounds, and the gears didn't strip out. So you will 100%, without a doubt, break the bolt head off the bolt before the wrenches slip. I told you guys these things were extremely strong. Here's proof. Extremely strong wrench heads. So now we want to go to the 19 millimeter. So we've got our 19 millimeter in here. We've got our 19 millimeter wrench. Obviously 118 foot-pounds was the maximum torque of any of the M12 bolts in the chart that we shown. So I expect this one to do is equally impressive numbers. So we'll see what it'll do. So we clear our meter out. You see it zeros. All right, so we've got a zip tie on here to try to keep it from flying away. We'll re-zero our meter. We'll put our ratcheting wrench on there, and we'll see what it can get to. So right there covers the maximum breakage strength that a M12 bolt is supposed to take. We're going to keep going. All right. So I got it to 207 by still putting a cheater pipe on it. You guys can see we're bending the wrench, but we want to test how strong the mechanism is. So we're going to put a pipe on here and we're going to let her have it. So let me clear this out. We'll calibrate it. All right, now then, we're going to see what it can do. All right, so my pipe kept slipping off. You can see we got to 337 foot-pounds that time. You can see the wrench. It still works. So, what do? The maximum torque recommendation on a 19 millimeter or M12 bolt was 118 foot-pounds. We got to 337. It's still going. These damn wrenches are tough, guys. Like, don't be scared to use these wrenches. So, I don't know what they'll break at. I apologize. I thought we could get to it here, but as you see, these wrenches are strong. Really strong. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Hope you like it. Don't be scared to try these SAR wrenches from VIM. Be sure to check these out on your local tool truck, or if you don't have a tool truck, go to www.vimtools.com, and that way you can check them out for yourself. Let me know if you can break one, because we can't. Anyway, that's the video this week, guys. Hopefully you like it. If you do, hit that thumbs up and click that subscribe button. We're going to try some other stuff, and hopefully we can break it too, but as you see, the numbers are extremely high for what they're designed to do. That's the video this week, guys. Y'all have a great one. Catch you next time.